Welcome to While We Were Distracted, the podcast where we explore topics that often get overshadowed in the rush of daily life.
Okay, so remember that deep dive we did on the Ark of the Covenant?
Yeah.
It really seemed like both Y-Files and Billy Carson were kind of leaning towards it having a technical purpose, right?
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't really ignore all the descriptions of how dangerous it was to touch and all the effects that it supposedly had, right?
Right.
It definitely suggested something more than just symbolic importance.
Well, get this. The sources we have for this deep dive take that whole idea and crank it up to like 11.
Oh.
We have this Knights Templar interview
Okay.
where they claim to possess not one,
Hmm.
but multiple Arks.
Oh, wow. That's really fascinating. And
Yeah.
what's interesting is how this Templar interview ties in with some of the ancient Egyptian material we have.
I know, right? Okay, so let's jump into this Templar interview first.
Yeah.
It's called Into the Vortex, and the interview is with Grandmaster Timothy Hogan.
Right.
And he had some pretty wild stuff to say.
Mm.
He starts right off challenging our conventional understanding of the Templars. He says they weren't just about protecting pilgrims. Their mission was way bigger than that. They were searching for lost knowledge, advanced technology stuff they believe came from a civilization that existed before the Great Flood.
Wow. He even mentions Atlantis.
Yeah, Atlantis, like the lost city.
That's right. So Hogan is suggesting that the Templars were looking for pockets of pre-deluge wisdom hidden all around the world,
Okay.
and that this search actually led them to some really incredible discoveries.
Like what? Give me some specifics.
Well, according to Hogan, they found a series of boxes or arks that actually matched descriptions and images found on ancient Egyptian temple walls, and they also discovered the substance that they call manna.
Hold on. Manna. Like manna in video games.
Well, not quite, but the concept is intriguing. Hogan describes this manna as a superconductive material. You know, like some materials can conduct electricity with zero resistance?
Yeah.
He says that when you put this manna inside an arc, which acts like a capacitor, it creates just massive amounts of electricity.
Okay, so we're talking serious power here.
Yeah.
But if there were multiple arcs, what were they even being used for?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. Hogan suggests that they were part of a global energy system, kind of like a super advanced version of Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower, broadcasting energy all over the planet. He even believes the Great Pyramid itself was part of this network.
So a global energy grid powered by arcs.
Exactly.
That's crazy. Okay, but how does this manna stuff fit in?
Well, remember we have that image of the manna jar?
Yeah.
Hogan connects that to these depictions of the Egyptian god Osiris holding a cone-shaped object that represents manna.
Okay.
And he suggests that that's actually what manna looks like when it's being created or when it's in this, active state. And we even have these images from Amiens Cathedral in Emboss.
Wait, the cathedral has images of manna production.
That's right. Hogan believes that they're depicting this manufacturing of manna. It's like a technology passed down from ancient times. And he even mentions the burning bush that Moses encountered, suggesting that it might have been a visual representation of something called calcination.
Calcination?
Yeah, it's basically a heating process that changes the chemical composition of a substance. Think of it like refining ore to get pure metal.
Got it. So are we saying then that this ancient advanced technology was rediscovered by the Templars?
That's the implication.
And maybe even brought here to the United States?
Potentially. And if that's true, it could completely change our understanding of history, of technology, even religion.
Okay, so before we jump into all that, what did Billy Carson have to say about the Ark?
Well, he's also definitely on board with the idea of it being some kind of technological device,
Okay.
like a reactor or a power source. Remember he talked about the Ark being housed in the Great Pyramid?
Yeah.
He even points to this giant chunk of granite missing from the king's chamber.
Oh, right, like something exploded from inside?
Right.
Wow, that would definitely be consistent with the idea of the Ark containing some kind of powerful energy. Didn't he also connect the Ark to that manna machine
Yes.
that supposedly fed the Israelites in the desert?
Absolutely. He describes it as something like an ancient 3D food printer powered by the Ark.
Wow. It's incredible how these different pieces of information, from ancient texts to modern theories, all seem to converge around this Ark of the Covenant.
I know, it's really amazing. And we're really only just scratching the surface here. I mean, there are even more theories about the Ark's purpose and where it might be hidden today.
You're right, we can't forget about those. We'll have to dive into all of that after we...
Hold on, before you say after a quick break, remember we're doing this all in one go for you today.
Oh, right. Well, then buckle up. We've got a lot more ground to cover.
So you're probably wondering about some of those other theories surrounding the Ark, right?
Yeah.
The Y-Files folks, they had some pretty interesting ideas.
Yeah.
Like, for example, they thought the Ark could have been used for communication with God.
Right. They were thinking those cherubim figures on top of the Ark
Yeah.
might have acted like antennas, sending and receiving some kind of signal.
Yeah, it's definitely a thought-provoking idea.
Right.
Especially when you consider how the Ark was often described as leading the Israelites, right? Almost like a GPS.
Yeah, exactly. It makes you wonder what kind of technology could have been in play.
Yeah.
And speaking of mind-blowing possibilities,
Yeah,
they also suggested that the Ark could have been some kind of nuclear device.
right.
Like, how else do you explain how Jericho was destroyed
Yeah.
and why some people got sick after coming in contact with the Ark, with symptoms like radiation poisoning?
Right, they talked about people experiencing like burns and hair loss and sickness, and those are classic signs of radiation exposure. But here's the thing that kind of throws a wrench into that theory. The Ark disappears from Babylonian records after they conquered Jerusalem. You'd think that something that powerful, something that valuable would have been accounted for.
That is strange.
Yeah.
Maybe they deliberately hid it, or I don't know, maybe the Babylonians just didn't understand what they were looking at. Like, it could have been technology so advanced that it was just beyond their comprehension.
Yeah, it's definitely a mystery. But speaking of mysteries, remember the Y-Files team mentioned the Copper Scroll?
Oh, yeah, the Copper Scroll, one of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Right.
Didn't it have a list of a bunch of different places where treasures were hidden? Maybe even the Ark?
Exactly. The scroll specifically mentions a network of caves near Qumran
Okay.
as a possible hiding place for the Ark.
Okay, so what about that whole story about the Ark being in Ethiopia?
Right.
A church there claims to have the original Ark,
Yeah.
guarded by a priest who often dies young,
Right.
They say it's from radiation exposure.
Yeah, it's a fascinating and kind of terrifying story.
Right.
But with all the conflict that's going on in Ethiopia these days,
Yeah.
it does make you worry about the Ark's safety,
Yeah.
Like, what if it gets lost or stolen?
It does raise some concerns.
Yeah.
But okay, let's circle back to the Knights Templar for a second.
Okay.
Do you think they were actually capable of finding and hiding the Ark? It sounds almost too good to be true.
Well, I mean, history tells us they were incredibly powerful.
Right.
They were wealthy.
Yeah.
I mean, the History.com article called them, like, basically the world's first international bankers.
Yeah.
So they definitely had the resources to finance these expeditions, these searches.
Right.
And, we know that they were actively searching for something under
Yeah.
the Temple Mount.
Uh.
Archaeologists have found Templar artifacts down there, which suggests they were, digging around for something.
Yeah, that our history piece mentioned their obsession
Yes.
with relics, especially biblical ones.
Right.
I mean, they probably would have jumped at the chance to get their hands on the Ark,
Of course.
especially before Saladin's army, captured Jerusalem.
Absolutely. They definitely had the motive, they had the means,
Right.
they had the opportunity.
Yeah, totally. Speaking of potential hiding places,
Yeah.
our history also brought up Roslyn Chapel in Scotland.
Right.
It's covered in Templar symbols.
Yes.
And it even has a secret chamber or something. Some people believe it was built specifically to house the Ark.
It's a fascinating place.
Roslyn Chapel, yeah, I've heard of that. It's supposed to be full of, mysteries.
It really is. And the Sinclair family connection is interesting, too.
Right.
They were a very powerful Scottish family with ties to the Templars.
Okay, so many possibilities.
I know, right?
I mean, the Y-Files team even threw out, a bunch of other potential locations, like Oak Island, the Vatican Archives. There was even a hidden chamber under the Sphinx.
It seems like every historical site has a theory connected to it.
Yeah.
And our history even added an underwater possibility. In the port of Acre,
Okay.
they found a shipwreck there with Templar coins. So who knows what else might be hidden beneath the waves?
Wow, this is getting overwhelming. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but the haystack is the entire planet.
Well, before we get too lost in this maze of potential hiding places, let's take a step back.
Okay.
Consider what all of this actually means.
Okay.
I mean, we have these claims of multiple arcs. We have this, ancient technology. We have secret societies, potential hiding places scattered across the globe.
It's a lot to wrap your head around. Like, where do we even begin to make sense of it all?
Well, I think the key is to look for connections, to look for patterns.
Okay.
The Templar accounts, the Egyptian imagery, the biblical descriptions, the scientific theories, they all seem to point toward this existence of some incredibly powerful technology
Right.
that could have, shaped the course of history.
Yeah, and even if we never actually find the Ark, the search itself is valuable, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
It forces us to question, to explore, to push the boundaries of what we think is possible.
The Ark of the Covenant isn't just an object. It's like a symbol of humanity's never-ending quest for knowledge, meaning, and power.
It's pretty amazing to think that something built thousands of years ago could still hold such power over our imaginations, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that there's still so much out there that we just don't know.
Right.
There's so much left to discover.
So we've covered a lot of ground with this Ark of the Covenant deep dive.
Yeah.
The Knights Templar claiming to have multiple arcs.
Right.
The possibility that it's this crazy technological marvel. It's a lot to process, wouldn't you say?
It really is. We've gone from ancient Egypt to modern-day Ethiopia, from
Right.
biblical accounts to scientific theories. It's kind of mind-blowing.
It really is. But you know what gets me?
Right.
If even one of these theories is true,
Yeah.
it changes everything.
Right.
Like how we view history, technology,
Yeah.
even religion. Think about it.
You're right. Like, imagine if the Ark really was some technological device as powerful as Hogan and Carson suggests.
Right.
What does that say about all the stories we've been told about, miracles and divine intervention and all that?
Exactly.
It would really challenge our whole understanding of those events.
I'm also thinking about the potential impact on science and technology today.
Right?
Like, if we could unlock the secrets of the Ark,
Yeah.
imagine what we could achieve. Could we harness that kind of power for good?
Mm-hmm.
Could we, solve some of the world's biggest problems?
The possibilities are pretty mind-boggling, but you also have to think about the risks too, right? I mean,
Well-
this kind of powerful technology could very easily be misused.
Right.
We've seen what happens when knowledge falls into the wrong hands.
That's a really good point. It's like, with great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly.
We'd have to be really careful about how we handle that kind of advanced technology.
Absolutely. But let's get back to the big question for a second. Do you think that the Knights Templar really did find multiple arcs?
Yeah.
And could one of them really be hidden right here in the U.S.?
I have to admit, the idea is intriguing. Hogan's account is pretty detailed.
Yeah.
And it connects with some of the other sources we've looked at, but it's still a big leap to make. I don't know. What do you think?
It's a bold claim for
Yeah.
sure, but I do find it compelling how all these different narratives, they seem to kind of converge. The Templar accounts, the Egyptian imagery, the biblical descriptions, the scientific theories, it's like they're all pointing toward the same conclusion.
Yeah.
That this incredibly powerful,
Right.
potentially world-altering technology
Yeah.
existed in ancient times.
And you know what?
Thought,
Whether or not we ever actually find the Ark, the search itself has been quite a journey.
really has.
It's made us question our assumptions,
Mm.
explore new possibilities,
Yeah.
expand our understanding of what might be out there.
Exactly. The Ark of the Covenant has become like more than just an object at this point.
Right.
It's like this symbol of humanity's like never-ending quest for knowledge, for meaning, and maybe even, for a connection to something bigger than ourselves.
Well said. Well, to all of you listening out there, we've given you a lot to ponder. What do you make of all this? Did the Knights Templar find multiple arcs? Is one hidden right here in the U.S.? Or maybe somewhere else entirely? We want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Take some time to research these locations, dig into the sources, and decide what you believe.
And if you come across anything interesting, maybe you have some theories of your own, we'd love to hear them.
Yes,
The search for the Ark of the Covenant continues.
it does.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the one to finally unlock its secrets.
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
If you enjoyed this episode of While We Were Distracted, be sure to watch the video that inspired it. Don't forget to like and subscribe for the next episode on While We Were Distracted.